Hey, what's up, Internet? This is Clinton Davis, and I have come prepared. So on top of a pile of bad news, which is that the Nightly Show aired its last episode last night, which is a show I've watched every night since the beginning of when it came out, in a time slot that I was always watching before, and I will continue to watch after. But there's actually some good news that came out now. The DOJ has stated that they will end all federal prisons from using the for-profit corporate prison method. And I'll let Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks tell you why.
The Justice Department has just announced that it plans to phase out its use of federal private prisons over the next 5 years. Now, part of the reason why they're doing this is because they realize that private prisons actually do not save the government money and actually lead to a lot more problems within our justice system. Officials plan to phase out their use of private prisons to house federal inmates, reasoning that the contract facilities offer few benefits for public safety or taxpayers. A pool of 14 privately contracted prisons reported more incidents of inmate contraband, higher rates of assaults, and more uses of force than facilities run by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. In fact, Sally Yates, who is the Deputy Attorney General, says they simply do not provide the same level of correctional services, programs, and resources. They do not save substantially on costs, and they do not maintain the same level of safety and security. Now, this is really great news.
Now, what's important to note is that state prisons and city prisons can still be bought out by soul-sucking corporations, but that could change because if the DOJ says something is not okay and that they're not going to do it anymore, it's very hard for blue states to keep doing something because it's seen as unjust. And so we'll see what happens with that. I hope that for-profit prisons can completely go out because they're profiting off people's lives and people's suffering. And see, to me what a prison is a system where you can go in there and you come out, you get back on your feet, and while you're in there, you can better yourself so that when you do get out, you better yourself and you can contribute to society better. But unfortunately, these corporate prisons are the opposite of that. They profit off of people's lives, or rather, the lack of quality in people's lives. You know, why is it that drug addicts and non-violent drug offenders don't have access to their vice in prison, which is drugs, and the violent criminals seem to have access to all of their vices because violence just seems to be encouraged by the guards? I'm not saying that there should be drugs in prison. I'm saying that there should also not be violence. Maybe that should be a thing that we should do. These prison corporations don't care about the quality and well-being of the lives of the people that they imprison. They care about money. And if they really care about money, maybe they can make some football stadiums where the foul rules don't apply. I mean, they seem to like watching people suffer. We could call the team the CCA holes and the Geodouches, and they'll battle it out. But right now, the system that they're using is not working. Anyone who knows me and follows me on my social media knows that this is a very, very big issue that I care very much about, and I have been caring about this issue ever since way before I had a YouTube channel. But I encourage anyone to donate to any of these charities that help prison reform, like Ban the Box, Families Against Mandatory Minimums. I mean, I'm not in a place where I can do that currently, but I plan on doing it soon. And if you claim to be pro-life and you support for-profit prisons, then you're full of fucking shit, because this is something that happens in for-profit prisons.
Cutting costs has led to some incredible things happening in Arizona. One prisoner had a C-section in jail, and this is how she says they treated her.
They decided to use sugar, kitchen sugar.
What do you mean they used kitchen sugar?
The packets, like McDonald's, the sugar, they would open it, pour it inside, and put gauze over it, and tape it up. And I'd had to do that for like 3 weeks.
And they poured them in your C-section?
Yeah.
Did they tell you why they were doing that?
One of the doctors learned it from, I don't even know. I don't know. But basically, it's a home remedy.
Sugar was used to treat wounds before the advent of antibiotics back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, but then we all decided it was no longer an acceptable medical practice. Like curing a child's cough with heroin. Well, look, he's not coughing anymore. Yeah, he's not really doing much of anything anymore. And I can't find any of the good silver.
I thought you cared about the unborn, don't you? No, you don't, of course you don't. You care about money and the corporate donors that give your money to be a politician. and serve their interests instead of the people of the United States of America and the fucking citizens that you're supposed to serve. But I think that joke says it all. One could argue that the system is designed to keep criminals off the streets, but then I would argue that maybe a better way to do that is turn those criminals into non-criminals by giving them classes and such things and recovery so that they can not be criminals anymore. But I think that joke says it all. One could argue that the system is designed to keep criminals off the streets, but then I would argue that maybe a better way to do that is turn those criminals into non-criminals by giving them classes and such things and recovery so that they can not be criminals anymore. And then once they learn their lesson and they stop doing violent crime, then maybe they're not criminals anymore, and then let them back out on the streets, and then guess what? There's still less criminals. And basically this is a disgusting industry, and I hope they phase them out in as many states as possible very soon. Moving on, another story I wanted to talk about was the Milwaukee protests, or riots. That's what I'm calling these ones, riots. Now anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big supporter of Black Lives Matter, and I have been a supporter of combating police violence since Trayvon Martin. That being said, in the case of Sylville Smith, if we're going by the police chief's story, then I don't think there was much else that they could have done. Obviously, their hesitance to release the dash cam footage kind of leans towards the fact that they might be lying. All that being said, I also am a big supporter of peaceful protests, and I don't support violence. Look, I know this country still has a huge race problem, and that problem runs rampant in our law enforcement, and that's why groups like Black Lives Matter are so important. But this is not the way to handle it. And maybe, just maybe, burning down buildings and small businesses in your own community isn't the best way to handle this. Maybe try to do more in a more productive way, but that being said, I'm going to give you a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. He says, "I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain conditions continue to exist in our society which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots." I do think it's important to note that these riots don't happen for no reason. And we have to condemn the riots, but also condemn the violent actions that caused the riots to happen. I'm not saying anything new here, but I figure if I don't speak out, then I'm part of the problem, and maybe I can use my voice for good, and that's what I've always wanted to do. And that is the end of the video, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're still watching this video, I love you more than my emotionally detached personality will allow me to express, and that frustrates me deeply. And also, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much.